I've up to this point, I've really prided myself in being a starter. I think now being on the 40 man, I know long term I'm going to be a starter at some point. But I think this year specifically, my main goal is, all right, how can I help and most benefit the big league team? And if that is coming out of the bullpen as a reliever and then making that spot start when they need me, I'll pride myself in being that guy. And
all right, guys, welcome back into another episode of To The Show We Go Baseball Podcast. Today's episode, we have Red Sox pitcher Hunter Dobbins, and you might know that name now. Actually, Hunter was just added to the 40-man roster a couple days ago, so he is officially one of the newest members, along with Justin Garcia. So, Hunter, I always start off with the question, but I'm going to change it up because your off season's been a little special for you. So, you're now a member of the 40-man roster. How has it felt over the last couple of days after letting it sink in a little bit?
It's been a little bit of a whirlwind. It's even when you can kind of expect it, or some guys have kind of hinted like, hey, don't be shocked or kind of expect this. Once it really sinks in and you realize, they always tell you you're one call away, and it's like you're really one call away when you're already added to the 40, because it's, they add you because they expect you to, produce and be able to help the big league team this year in some way. But I mean, I've had phone calls with Andrew Bailey, with Breslow, Willard, just a lot of kind of higher ups of what all I need to do to be ready to help the big league team in spring training, and kind of to put myself on that list of, possibly breaking with the team out of camp. And so I've had some good phone calls and stuff, and getting me really excited for this next camp.
Yeah, I was gonna follow up on that too. It's like, obviously, you had gotten up to Worcester at the end of the year, so you kind of knew this was going to be probably your next goal. I think you had in mind. I think I had talked to you at some point throughout the season, and obviously you wanted to get called up to AAA, but then you wanted to be on the 40-man roster. What kind of things is this going to give you going into next year? Like, is it going to give you a little added confidence? Like you said, you're only one call away now, and now you are major league depth going into 2025.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely helps a lot. Here, I'm going to go out to my truck real quick.
Hey, that's where we were last off season when we had you. So
yeah, it's I mean, it's a lot of fun. It just helps. One, it helps kind of calm the nerves and the expectations of things that, like, you're going to have to, head on a swivel in minor league camp, kind of a deal. And now it's like, all right, I know for a fact I can hone in on one goal, and that's, getting to the big leagues. And it's, when we talked last time, it was like, all right, I need to get to AAA. All right, check, did that. All right, now it's, what do I need to do to get myself on the radar for a late season call up when we talked last? And so now I'm like to that point of, all right, now I'm on the 40 man. What do I have to do to put myself in that top 26 that they're like, man, we need this guy in Boston. We need him to help us, make that playoff push. And so I would say the biggest thing that's helped is my training. It's, instead of, man, I need to really put my name on the map, it's all right, I'm on the map. Now I need to be the best version of myself.
What's the best version of Hunter Dobbins?
What I think the best version is kind of what I showed my last, I'd say probably 2 to 3 starts. I wouldn't even really lump in my first start in Worcester, because that was more of a finding out just how tight the AAA strike zone is, the environment. Worcester, those fans are amazing. I think it was like a random Wednesday night, and those fans were packed in there, and it was a great atmosphere. But no, just, I think the best version of me is those last 2 starts where I was throwing almost 4 out of the 5, if not all 5 pitches in the strike zone whenever I wanted, getting swing and miss, and just going right at them.
Yeah, I would I would agree with you that Worcester is pretty. It's crazy how many sellouts they have over the summer, and obviously it helped a little bit too having the big four, or big three all there. That place was just bananas all summer long, especially after all the guys got up. And for you being able to, get that experience at the end of the year and make those 4 starts, do you think that will help you? Just like you said, it's like, hey, my first start in Worcester, trying to figure it out, trying to see like what worked. Obviously, you got the ABS that you didn't have in AA, and going into 25 now. Do you think, obviously, once you start the year in Worcester, you think that's going to give you a little bit of advantage, knowing like, okay, I've been here, I've seen the ABS, I've made a few starts now, I'm ready to just get going?
Yeah, I think I believe I'm in kind of a peculiar spot. I know for a fact like I'm gonna be able to settle into my routine for Worcester. I'm ready to go now that I been there, especially for that month. I'm really like, I couldn't have been happier that they gave me a full month up there to end the year, just strictly for figuring it out. Because now I can roll straight into AAA, used to the big league balls, used to all that, like you said, and now I can just go after it. But after some phone calls, after talking with the agent and all that, and having, especially with my velo bump towards the end of the year, where I think I was averaging 96 almost for my last 3 starts. I've started to look at careers like Tanner Houck, Cutter Crawford, like how they got started in the big leagues was they were kind of that, come out of the bullpen. Here's 2-3 innings. Here's a spot start here and there. So I'm also getting my mind wrapped around that, getting prepared for that. I spent pretty much my entire college career outside of a few starts during COVID year, and then I didn't get to pitch my last year. But I spent that time coming out of the bullpen, so kind of re-ramping up that routine, kind of getting the body used to that as well. So if Bruslow and Bailey and them see me as a reliever to start the year, to break with the team, I'll be fully ready for that. And maybe if they tell me, hey, here's 2 or 3 innings, I can go hit 99, maybe even 100 a few times and have some fun with that.
Now, for you, one of the things that I've found interesting with just how people do their prospect lists, there really is the difference between starters and relievers, where a starter is going to be considered a lot more valuable. And the buzz that I heard for you is that for your season, you changed a lot of people's minds that you are going to be able to be a starter in the majors rather than just a reliever. And I don't mean to say just a reliever, but
Yeah.
there's a difference with how people look at this stuff. How much pride do you take in starting over relieving?
I see myself as a long-term big league starter. That's always been my mindset. That's always been my belief. In college, I was making that transition over to be a starter until I finally got bit by the TJ bug, and that kind of derailed that. But I know I've kind of had the under the radar career path, just being drafted in the middle of rehab and all that. It's just kind of how it works out. But I've up to this point, I've really prided myself in being a starter. I think now being on the 40 man, I know long term I'm going to be a starter at some point. But I think this year specifically, my main goal is, all right, how can I help and most benefit the big league team? And if that is coming out of the bullpen as a reliever and then making that spot start when they need me, I'll pride myself in being that guy. And, it's kind of, I want to be a jack of all trades this year if they need it.
Did this, just this mindset that you have now of like, hey, like I am more than willing to do this to make it to the bigs. Obviously, we saw this year with Zach Penrod where he was starting all year, and then they had moved him over to the bullpen in AAA, and he ended up getting to be able to make his debut. Did seeing him do that, and obviously you were a teammate of his in Portland, and I'm not sure if he was, Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
You're a teammate of him. So then did watching him do that kind of be like, wow, like this is, a path to make your debut, get up there and at least like see some time?
It wasn't really him, seeing him and being around him when it happened. Obviously, like you notice it, you're happy for him. I think he had like the week of his life that we would all love. I think he had his baby and then immediately got called up. And so I was like, that was just an outstanding week. We couldn't be more happy for him. But the guy that I saw that kind of made me start thinking that way was in my rehab. I actually did I think it was a rehab start when he was down there, was Cutter Crawford. And, I kind of, had some fun with him. We kind of faced off in some, like a little simulated game in Fort Myers. And so I kept up with his career and like, he's a great guy. So, and then seeing him come out of the bullpen, have a good year. And then that next spring training really solidified himself as a rotation guy. And then had a great year overall. And it's like, that's kind of the guy that I need to expect to be. It's like, all right, I can throw it harder in shorter stints right now. So if that's what the bullpen needs and I can help the big league club win games that way, great. And then, get used to the big league life, get used to the environment, how things are run, and then settle in the next spring training as a starter and earn that rotation spot. Like, if that's what I need to do, I'm totally good with it.
It's so funny that you talk about Cutter. I always I don't know why in my mind I always think Cutter was like a Texas guy, and because I know that like Chase Sugar's been like very close with him, and I know Sugar's kind of gone under Cutter's wing a little bit, and hearing you kind of talk about him like that, it's like I feel like this guy has like been just kind of like not like a mentor or anything, but just like somebody to look at and be like, okay, like he's done it right. He had a great year, like you said, and it's just want to follow in his footsteps. And you mentioned earlier too, Tanner Houck did it as well. We just saw Penrod, Josh Winkowski has done it as well. So a lot of guys have, and I always think back to being in Chad Tracy's office throughout the last couple of years, and he's always getting asked questions like, oh, like how's this pitcher going to do, like going to the bullpen and all this. And Chad's always said this line of like, I want the guys to get comfortable being uncomfortable, and he wants them to experience every situation possible before they get up to the big. So it's like if Hunter Dobbins is a starter, then if we need to have him come out of the bullpen in the 5th inning, we need to see him in the 8th inning, because who knows what he's going to do when he gets to Boston. So is that something that, obviously it's only going to help you, I think, once you get up to Boston, because like you said, you have no idea what you're going to be called up and what role it is.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely helps. Just kind of, head on a swivel, be ready for it, be able to adjust to the situation that needs to be done. I think one of my biggest things is I've always performed better kind of over a season as a starter. I'm a creature of habit. Even though some of those habits might not be the greatest things in the world, y'all have experience with. But it's like once I can kind of settle in my routine, I can really, start hammering in who I am. But I will say the thing that kind of makes me excited for possibly coming out of the bullpen for a year is the last time I was a reliever, I think I was topping out at like 92, 93. And so it's like, I really wonder, like, if I came out of the bullpen now, just how hard I would be able to run it up. And the week before I got moved up to AAA, we were planning on having me come out of the bullpen on a Tuesday, because it was like, instead of doing a full skip start, we were like, all right, hey, come close the game on Tuesday. And I was ready to go. I was like, man, let me at him. Let me go try to hit 100 for an inning and then call it good. But no, I'm excited for that. Just to, throw 5-pitch mix and try to run it up to almost 100 out of the bullpen. I feel like would be kind of fun.
Yeah, just by the way, I'm gonna give this over to Ed, but we do have you brought this up, but we've heard some of the stuff lately, but we will get into our big Deborah segment and a few things later. But Ed, we'll go to you.
So it's funny. I wasn't at any of the games that you started at AAA this year, but I did get to see you pitch in Hartford, and it was a short start you were making. I think you only won 2 innings, but I saw you warm up a little bit in the bullpen, and something that stands out as one of the cooler moments for me, at least. And this probably isn't going to seem like it was a big deal for you at all, but there were these kids that were watching you warm up, and at the very end of it, like when your session was done, you tossed one of them the ball and you high-fived another kid, and you just kind of went with your teammates like it was nothing. And I was just putting myself in that position of being like 9 or 10 years old and being at a minor league game and like a pitcher doing this for you, like just getting a ball, or like they fist bump me or something like that. Is this something that you go out of your way to do at games, or is it just sort of like you're not even thinking about it? Like you're just like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm at a game. There are kids here. Of course I'm going to do this.
I try to find some kids every single start. My mindset has always been, even in college, it even really started in varsity high school. It's a small town. Some kids are, they grow up watching these kids like, oh, I want to play varsity baseball for the high school. And I feel like as players at a high level, especially now being in AAA, possibly big leagues and all that, it's our responsibility to pass down the game and the love of the game to the kids, because at the end of the day, if nobody gets them inspired to want to play and get better at baseball, the game of baseball is going to decline. We've been hearing it for years about how, baseball is going downhill, blah, blah, blah. And that's just not true, first of all. But it's our responsibility as pros to make sure those kids have that moment and they want to come back to the ballpark, and then they fall in love with the game and they want to play it. And then that's how the next generation of kids come up. But I would say like the biggest one was, I believe it was down in Richmond, Virginia. We're playing the Flying Squirrels. I'm pretty sure it was there. I came out of the dugout. It was one of my first starts in AA, I'm pretty sure, or first few. They actually had a kids-only autograph section by the dugout. So it was like, you didn't really have the card sharks. You didn't have the guys with the balls trying to ask for a sign. It was like, you could just stop there, sign autographs for kids. And I was like, man, that's awesome. I was like, I wish every stadium would have something like that. But no, ever since then, I've been like, you know what, I'm going to make sure that I pick one kid out that's going to get the ball that, isn't sitting there screaming, hey, ball, 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 ball the whole time. A kid that's being respectful, letting you do your thing, and just kind of just watching. I'm like, all right, hey, here's the ball. And so now I go out of my way to try to at least, have that moment for a few kids every time.
Yeah, it gets a little crazy in Worcester when you got, you're walking that little tunnel between the dugout and the clubhouse right there. I have seen people get absolutely just paraded with like shouts and everything. It's like, I don't even know how you guys keep up with that, but
I saw somebody. This was at Worcester. I saw someone with like it was like a binder, and it was on a rope, and they were like lowering the binder down.
And they would flip it to the page and take it down with whoever was walking through. It was like, it was incredible.
Yep. I think the funniest one that I've gotten, I got to hand it to the kids. They went and got a bunch of strings kind of similar to the binder and got a Gatorade cup and like tied it through there and was lowering the baseball down with that with a marker. And I even stopped for that and was like, if you went through the effort for that, I'll sign it for you. And I was like, so if kids are like funny or like do stuff like that, I'm like, oh, okay, I gotta give them an autograph for that.
Yeah, that's I've seen some things. I remember when Ryan Fitzgerald was he was the king of Worcester. He had a key to the city and everything a few years ago, and the amount of things that people would throw at him to sign, I was like, that's insane. So on that note, what has been the craziest thing you've been asked to sign?
Other than like kids asking you to sign their shoulder or like an actual body part that you're just like, no. I've signed a pair of glasses, and I've also signed a pair or a Sharpie. I was like, the kid had no room left on his ball, and all he had was his Sharpie, and he asked his friend if he could borrow his Sharpie for me to sign his. I was like, you know what? That's interesting, but No, thankfully I've been able to avoid for the most part like some of the outlandish things.
Like nobody's asked you to sign the baby's forehead or anything like that yet.
No, thankfully not.
Okay.
I think you got to be in like the big four realm for that one. So I've thankfully been able to avoid all that.
I mean, speaking of the big four, you were playing with these guys, I feel like more than most people were, because you started at AA and then you got called up for the end of the season at AAA too. What's it been like playing with those guys and just seeing the, I don't want to say insanity around them, but I'm not sure I've seen a group this hyped up in my years following baseball, that they're all coming up together.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. You know, I've been with Marcelo pretty much every step of the way since we've been drafted. And then the next year, I guess not the next year, but when I got to AA, Marcelo was already there, and Roman went on that absolute tear, or I guess his first absolute tear. I don't think he's even stopped. But he got up there, and so I got to know him, and then Teal this past year, I mean, got up there really fast. And then yeah, I feel like I'm being repetitive. Campbell goes on his tear, and it's like, this is going to sound terrible coming out of my mouth because it makes me feel so old, but I feel like the grandpa of the group watching these young guys come up and tear it up. This is just like, I think I'm 3 or maybe 4 years older than Campbell and Teal. But no, it's been a lot of fun. They handle everything like super maturely. They go about their business right. It's definitely been a lot of fun to kind of be around the whole deal. And I think, you know, they say that prospects don't always pan out, but watching these four play baseball, I would be absolutely shocked if we don't see those four in a lineup relatively soon, because they're just, I mean, they're four of the best baseball players I've ever been around.
Yeah, and it was incredible. Like Ed said, like the cameras that would be around as soon as those three got up to Worcester was incredible. And you know, obviously, you know, as you've seen in Worcester, there, you know, there's a decent amount of cameras around and reporters kind of hanging around. Obviously, like myself and Ed included, but I know it's not like that in Portland, and obviously not like that in Greenville and Salem, but. Do you think at all with, you know, dealing with a lot of the cameras and craziness that have been around with those four, and especially once you got up to Worcester, do you think that's helped kind of prepare you a little bit for, you know, once you do get up to Fenway in the near future, that it's like, you know, it's only going to be that times 10. So do you think that's kind of helped you a little bit, being like, okay, there's cameras there. I'm comfortable with this.
Yeah. I mean, I've always been one like, that stuff doesn't really bother me. I just kind of go about my business. If somebody wants to talk to me, I feel like I kind of give off that vibe as you can just kind of come up and, you know, talk, ask some questions. But other than that, I'm just going to go do what I need to do for the day, hang around the guys. But I try to just kind of block all that out as much as I can, because at the end of the day, they pay me to throw strikes, get people out, and give an interview when I'm asked to. So it's like, it's part of the job, but I don't let it kind of bother me too much.
All right. Well, I'm about to ask you some of the stuff that we've been hearing lately. And I think our good pal Chris Enrique put out a weird graphic the other day of this, but it was the legend of Hunter Dobbins grows.
Would you mind, Andrew, if I ask a question that's kind of in between these two things, because it is baseball related and it's something that we've heard, but it's not quite some of the other ones. Are you really throwing a knuckleball in game?
A knuckleball? No. So my early last year and the end of 22, I guess, when I first got up to Portland, I was throwing a splitter, but I was so far on the side of the ball that it would move and look like a knuckleball. Like, I think the RPMs on it were, you know, 250 to 400, which is like a little high for like a true knuckleball, but I was also throwing it like 85 miles an hour. But it was to the point to where like guys didn't want to play catch with me because I'd have to throw it.
So that's almost like what Luis Guerrero was throwing.
Yeah, we're very similar things. Yeah.
Would you ever throw a knuckleball?
No. No. you got to be gifted to throw a knuckleball and actually have an idea of where it's going. I'm still working on trying to figure out the splinker and where it's going. So I don't think I'd be biting off the knuckleball anytime soon.
Yeah, who was it that we had on Ed that was
I
talking
think that
about?
was Hayden Mullins that said
it was
that.
David Sandlin, I think.
Was it Sandlin?
Yeah, that he was playing catch with you and he took one off the shin.
Yep, that.
Yeah, so he did not enjoy that, I think, is what we gathered from that. But just as far as the legend just growing with you, there's multiple things that I found out about you this offseason that I had zero idea about. I need to hear the background of Big Deborah. I heard there was a sweatshirt floating around somewhere that Hayden Mullins said that you might be wearing when we had you on this. But what is it? What's the story behind this? So
it's kind of the making of it was I got sucked into the TikTok shop algorithm. I was a victim. No, but there's a comedian on there that, he just has some funny videos and stuff. And one day that he had a video of him wearing this Big Deborah sweatshirt. And it's just the Little Debbie logo with, y'all have seen the picture.
Yeah.
But, and I was like, man, this is perfect. Is like, they all give me a hard time for like my diet and all of that. It's like, this is going to be my pregame sweatshirt. I was like, I'm going to get this. This is what I'm going to wear when I'm warming up. And then I'm going to go pitch. And I showed up with it it came in when I was in Portland. And when I broke it out, the reactions I got were just priceless. And so I was like, nah, this is going with me to AAA too. And same thing up there. Everybody was like, you cannot wear that. And I was like, well, too bad. I was like, I've been on a tear and I've been wearing it. So it's happening. But no, it was more of just I like to think I'm just a victim in all of it.
That's fair. Obviously the Dr. Pepper stuff, I feel like everybody pretty much knows about it now. Were you a little shocked though that once you did get there? Shout out to my guy Tommy Castle. I know he wrote up something about it, but I know Ashley and Taylor, the photographers and videographers there, they were you were warming up and you were just sipping it back. You made eye contact with the camera and you're probably like, oh shoot, like they're definitely looking at me right now. But were you surprised that they kind of just like latched onto that a little bit?
As much as they did, yes. I knew it was going to get a little bit just because it is, out there for the norm. And that's, baseball is such a kind of a weird sport anyways. That's like when something like that kind of comes around that, is out of the norm, not the routine of things. And people tend to kind of gravitate and like latch on-to it. So I knew I was going to get a little bit. I didn't think it was going to blow up as much as it did. I'm hoping that leads to a sponsorship. We'll see how it goes. Maybe now I'm on the 40. We can get some ground on that, but no, it was definitely a lot more than I thought.
Hit up the agent, be like, listen, man, it's a Texas-based company. They're in Waco. It's like, makes a lot of sense, man. It makes too much sense.
Exactly. Then, I even told him, I was like, this is the time we got to go. But he's also a former player. So he's also on the train of, hey, stop that, drink some water or something like that. So that's an uphill battle.
Okay, that's fair. I can see where he's coming from, and I bet you do too. You're like, you know what, that's fine, but I'm going to keep doing it. It's being successful. But last new thing I learned about you, I've heard from multiple sources now. You're a scratch golfer?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
So I grew up playing golf. Grew up playing tournaments and stuff like that. A lot of my friends were kind of doing lessons and stuff like that. So I was like, oh, I'll go to a couple camps. And I was like, man, I actually like this sport. So I did that growing up. I actually played golf instead of baseball my freshman year of high school. I was at a small little private school. And so I was like, I'm going to go play golf. And then I transferred over and started playing baseball. But no, just always loved it. And then COVID is actually where I got really good at golf, because here at Tech we have one of the nicest school courses in the country, and they do a student membership. It's like $550 for unlimited golf and range time for a semester. Well, thanks to COVID, I didn't have any classes to go to, and everything was online. So I would go play 36 holes a day. I think in the fall semester of, it would have been 2020, kind of when they were doing the virtual and everything, trying to get back to normal. I would go play 36 holes of golf a day. I'd go walk in the morning when it's nice and cool, and then I would ride 36 after lunch, or 18 after lunch. And I just have my classes playing on my iPad next to me. And so that was when I got good. But now I just make Mullins pay for my dinner when I beat him. So,
dude, I've heard from so many people. They're just like, he's the guy. Like, I feel like guys don't even want to golf with you now because it's like they already know what's going to happen. Yeah,
this past spring training, I got to be careful how much I put this out there because I got to find guys to do it against this next spring training. But I guess it was actually 2 spring trainings ago. It would be me, Mullins, Blaylock, and Garrett Ramsey, or we'd have somebody else play. And I'd be like, all right, you know what? We're going to do 3 versus 1 best ball. Whoever scores best on every hole for y'all put that score down, and I'll just play mine. And we'll see who wins. I was like, we'll go to Outback Steakhouse afterwards. If y'all win, I'll buy appetizers for everybody. If I win, y'all just split my food. And I don't think I paid for an appetizer that whole spring training. So,
who's the next best golfer that you've played against in the Red Sox organization? Like, who's been your biggest competition?
That's good.
I would say when I got to AAA, Jamie Westbrook was really good. Trying to think of who else I played with. Keller was really good. I think like Keller and I could probably go shot for shot. But outside of that, I'd probably say Mullins is the most consistent. You know, he's every spring training I show up, he's a little bit better, but he shoots pretty consistent every time we're out there. So I would definitely say right now I'd have to give it to Mullins.
Yeah,
even though it's like I saw the tweet the other day. It's like here and then Mullins, but he's getting there.
Okay, what have you seen Blake Wehunt hit a ball yet?
I have not.
Okay, maybe try him. I'm curious how if he's hitting the ball 340 off the tee, he might have. I don't know how the rest of his game is, but I've heard a lot of good things about how he can hit the ball. Him and Stebbins both.
340, he'd be down there.
Well, he's 6'8". He's 6'8", so I figured he's probably putting everything in it. All right. Well, that was a good question, Ed. I've had multiple people say you were the best one in the org, and I'm just like, sheesh, dude. I don't know. That's insane. That's something new that I learned.
Yeah, we have a new country club that just opened up out here called Red Feather. It was actually a Texas Tech baseball player is the one who opened it up, and it's got greens that are like they're even faster than the courses down in Florida. So I'm gonna get the game in good shape up here and show up ready to go when I get down there.
So this is a little moving away from the legend of Hunter Dobbins. We've been hearing more buzz about the Red Sox offseason, I feel like, than in years. Just every rumor is with a top prospect. Do the players talk about this? Like, do you have like in the group chat? Is it like, oh, are we getting Burns? Are we getting Snell? Or is there anybody that you prefer to play with over other people?
No, we all just kind of stick to, like we know what we need to get better at. We know what we need to work on. This is kind of a new era for me because it's like I'm at that point of, all right, I have a real chance of being teammates with these guys at some point this year. So like I've been watching it a little bit more. But I mean, overall, it's like there's really nobody I'm like, oh, I really want that guy. I really want this guy. It's like, all right, I just hope and trust that like Breslow and all those guys, I mean, they've made great decisions so far. So, I mean, I know they're going to make great decisions of putting the best team out there, chemistry-wise, talent-wise and everything like that. If some of the big names end up over here, great. If not, I think, especially on the pitching side, that our farm system is severely underrated. I know StatCast did a thing like we're the number 4 pitching system for like their numbers, I guess. I didn't read into it too much. I just saw the big picture of Sandlin on the front, so I immediately texted him, giving him a hard time. But it's like I think, especially on the pitching side, we have plenty of arms that are going to be really good big leaguers that are, a step or two away. So I think at the end of the day, Breslow and them are going to do what's right for the org, and whatever happens. We're going to find ways to win ball games.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just even looking at who is going to be in the Worcester rotation at any given time. I mean, Priester, Fitz, you, Criswell, Winkowski. There are guys there that, like when Brand Mayo came up, it was kind of like we hadn't seen anybody like that coming through the system in a while, where they were just coming to AAA and dominating and just having this more electric stuff, I guess. But now it feels like there are a few guys that could pitch on the big league rotation right now and do fine. It's been pretty incredible seeing how far the pitching development has come in just a couple of years.
Oh, absolutely. It's, the way that we've been going about it all, it's been a lot of fun. Watching guys develop, training for the few weeks alongside Sandlin, working with Mullins, and I lived with him this spring training, kind of seeing him in the way that he's been getting better. And then when I got to AAA, watching Priester, Fitz, we call them Hags, but Hags pitch, Keller, all those guys, like watching them, the way they work, the way they go about it. We had such a good, like, older group of guys that showed us younger guys, like, hey, and I feel bad calling them older guys. They're only like 28. But, like, the way they go about it was so good, and, like, showed us how to be those professionals. That's really what has driven the success of the pitching prospects that are coming up now. It's like, talking to Priester, I know he's younger than me, but he's got big league experience. So, we sat there and talked a little bit in the dugout and stuff like that, and just some of the little stuff that I didn't even think about like being a big leaguer, how to just handle yourself in the locker room. I always thought, I am who I am. I'm going to go be that guy no matter where I'm at. But seeing that, like, kind of the little tips and stuff that he gave me there is a lot. But stuff like that is what's going to really finish pushing those prospects up into the big leagues, I think.
So I have one more question left, and then Ed, I'll send to you to kind of wrap us up. But this spring training coming up here in a couple months, I feel like it's probably one of the biggest ones for you in your career, and obviously being now a 40-man guy, and just being on the radar for the big league team now. What kind of things are you looking forward to the most to get out of this next spring training, just being a 40-man roster guy, and obviously like just being around more of the big leaguers more?
I would say the biggest thing that I'm wanting to take away from spring training, outside of, possibly pushing for that spot and seeing, let's see what happens, see what role I'm in. And then, hopefully break for Boston, but we'll see. If I am back in Worcester, what I want to do is I want to see how, especially the big league starters, how they go about their day-to-day work. They're in the big leagues for a reason. A lot of those guys have stayed in the big leagues for a long time. We're always told it's one thing to get to the big leagues. It's a whole nother world to stay there. So I'm just going to really observe, and stay, around those guys that have all that service time, and try to, tweak my routines, tweak everything outside of the Dr. Pepper, to what they do, and make sure that I'm ready to go when they do call me up.
All right, Ed, if you have anything to bring us home here.
So this is more of a 1.5, because the first part is just a statement. Thank you for the Chicken Express recommendation last year. I was in San Antonio with my dad, and we went there. I The chicken I've had, I thought the chicken was good. It wasn't the best chicken I've had, but I thought it was good. The sweet tea was the best sweet tea I've ever had. That was unbelievable. So that was, I think I think that like I might have gone into diabetic shock after for a little bit. But
Definitely did.
Stuff was good. That was so good. So thank you for the recommendation. Actual question though. You're teaching. You give lessons for pitching during the off season, right?
Yes. Yeah.
What advice if you had yourself at whatever age? What's like the average age that you have for students?
Just high school guys.
Yeah. Like if you had yourself in high school as someone that you were teaching, what advice would you give yourself?
Baseball is 90% mental. It's, we can sit here and drive home mechanics. We can tweak little things, obviously pitch grips, pitch design and all that. But at the end of the day, if you don't have that mentality when you're on the mound of I'm better than you, here it is, I don't think you can hit it even if I throw it right down the middle, then that's what we need to work on first. It's if you're going to give up 2 hits in the first inning and then kind of start quitting, start doubting yourself, maybe we need to go play soccer or something like that. It's just one of those that I want to drive home the fact of like we have to be mentally tough. And it's honestly these days in life, you got to be mentally tough. Baseball is a game of life lessons. It's get up there, be ready to go, be the guy, go get them. But outside of that, health over velocity. That's what I preach to a lot of these guys is, everybody sees Trevor Bauer's videos. They see the drive line videos, the tread videos, the guys throwing hard. So all these high school guys want that now. And I'm like, all right, listen, Timmy, you throw 82 right now with some bad mechanics. If we just started doing a bunch of stuff to throw harder, you're going to end up hurting your shoulder. So it's more of I teach a very mechanics-based biomechanic breakdown of let's get everything moving right. And then, hey, when you turn into a man and you get some strength and you start lifting in the weight room, guess what? That 5-ounce ball tends to start moving a little faster when you get stronger. So I know I'm in the minority on that. A lot of people push velo programs and stuff like that. And, velo programs have their place, especially like in pro ball and stuff like that, where you're fully grown. But I tend to take the traditional route.
I feel like I could do an entire podcast just talking about, just everything you just talked about. And I could probably talk to you for hours about it. But
yeah.
I will excuse that shot you made at soccer players I did play growing up. So I appreciate that one. Yeah, I did.
It's not really a shot. Let's just be honest. If you love run.
Uh-oh.
Oh no.
I don't think we're gonna hear his. All right, we got you back.
Oh, there we go.
All right, so you come on, defend yourself.
Parker and Big Soccer just censored you out there.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was like nope. No, I was just saying, if you're not the most athletic with the hand-eye coordination and you like running, go play soccer because you don't got to be the best athlete to play soccer. Now I'm not taking a shot at MLS and those guys. Those guys are great. I mean, those guys are insane, but
all right,
it's
all right. Fair enough.
I will say it's more athletic than like a lacrosse or something like that.
We can't get into this because I don't know who's listening to this. I don't know, but I know New England's a very big lacrosse area, so I don't.
The Lex Bros are going to come for you.
Yeah, that's not an army you want to face.
Welcome to the. I don't know if it is up there, but at least down here, it's baseball versus lacrosse is kind of a little. It's friendly back and forth. I would say maybe a little less on the friendly side, but yeah.
All right. Well, before you make any other sporting groups mad, we will come to a close here. But Hunter, we very much appreciate all the time. Obviously, I know you're going to be a hot guest on a lot of different shows this off season, so we appreciate you doing ours first. But as always, thank you so much for hopping on.
I appreciate y'all having me on. Glad I could get with y'all first, because I think y'all were also. if we went back far enough, I think y'all were the first podcast I got on to begin with. So,
oh, let's go, Ed. Well, Hunter, as always, we appreciate the time.